So, Jacob, you did question Governor Pritzker yesterday. What's the latest there? You've heard from him. And tell us, what is the situation actually like right now in Chicago?
Just to Joe's point, Jonathan, about 14 people outside the ICE facility in Portland. I was outside the Broadview facility here, which has really been a flashpoint. And there were less protesters, and they were in costumes. One was dressed as the Grim Reaper, another was dressed in the jail stripes. But it was largely peaceful, and I don't mean to make light of it because it has been a flashpoint. There was a lawsuit filed by journalists about journalists who have been targeted and shot with pepper balls and other less lethal munitions by the federal agents who are here on the ground. And what Governor Pritzker largely laid out is that he believes all of this militarization that's on the streets right now of Chicago, the people in the tactical gear that you're looking at, that's Greg Bavino on the left-hand side of your screen, the guy that ran the operation in L.A., and now he's out here in Chicago. They were marching up and down Michigan Avenue in masks and in fatigues and with weapons, and they were in the Chicago River behind me with the Air and Marine Operations boats that I've seen many times along the Rio Grande.
Jacob, wait, I'm sorry. Help me out here. Why were they marching up and down Michigan Avenue? I mean, a great shopping district, make no mistake of it.
No, it's great.
But you go up and down the right time of year, and it's a wonderful time of year. Very comfortable. It's very good. You can get a lot of things. Get some lattes, you can hang out.
You can even bring it in the store.
But why is the National Guard masked marching up and down Michigan Avenue?
They were not going to the Apple Store, Joe. I can tell you that. It was a show of force. It was a show of force, and that's what Greg Bavino said.
Over what? Like Halloween shoppers, pre-Halloween? Like a show of force over whom is, and I'm dead serious here, over whom? For what? For what purpose? Other than maybe to provoke?
I think that that is the central point here, is that there is no purpose of marching up and down Michigan Avenue. It's the same thing that they did, Joe, in L.A., in MacArthur Park, in that big park that's central to the city, where they show up, they have a massive operation with the National Guard protecting the perimeter, and they didn't arrest a single person, but they did make a very slick video for the Department of Homeland Security and post it online. And they've already done that here, too. In essence, a lot of this is to make content. It's not to arrest people. And they do these big operations in the middle of the night, like the operation on the South Shore of Chicago, where they show up in their tactical gear. They pull people out. They put kids in zip ties. American citizens were detained. And a lot of those people were then released. What is the point of it? They don't have a good answer, other than to say to go after the worst of the worst. But we all know that that's not what's happening. I do want to play a little bit of what Governor Pritzker said to me yesterday, because I did go to the press conference and I asked him. He said he was going to use every tool at his disposal to keep these guys out of here. And I asked him what exactly that meant. Here's a little bit of what he said to me.
Beyond legal challenges, what does that pushback against the potential invocation of the Insurrection Act look like? Would you order the state police to arrest or detain federal officials or stand in the way of federal law enforcement?
We follow the law in Illinois. We follow the law. Unlike Donald Trump, we follow the law. We have made sure that, again, under state law, that we've provided funding for programs so that people know their rights, so they can protect themselves. That's first and foremost. We've made sure that we've pleaded with the public to take action by using their phones to videotape anything and everything that they see. We want to make sure that that's recorded. It's why we were able to even show some video here today. And again, beyond going to court, we have encouraged people to shop at small businesses, to help out your neighbors. We provided support for those children who've been traumatized and for their families by those attacks. But it is the courts, in the end, that are going to have to rule on whether or not Donald Trump has the ability to call up National Guard from another state.
A similar lawsuit to stop Trump from sending federalized troops into Oregon was successful this weekend. This is a judge in this Oregon case who was appointed by Trump, for what it's worth. And she first blocked Trump from federalizing Oregon National Guard to send them into Portland under Trump's command. The judge said there was nothing in the conditions on the ground in Portland that would justify that kind of military force that Trump wanted to use those troops for. So she established a temporary restraining order prohibiting Trump from sending in the Oregon National Guard for that purpose. The Trump administration responded by saying, okay, well, if we can't send in the Oregon National Guard into Portland, then we'll send federalized National Guard troops from other states. from California, since we already federalized them for the LA operation, and we'll send some Texas National Guard federalized troops as well. That same judge in an emergency hearing late last night told the Trump administration in no uncertain terms that they were obviously trying to defy her order, and they were not allowed to do that. And I say no uncertain terms. Now I will show you what I mean. The judge, Mr. Hamilton, let me ask you, how could bringing in federalized National Guard in California not be in direct contravention of the restraining order I issued yesterday? Trump administration lawyer, Mr. Hamilton. The restraining order issued yesterday, paragraph 1 of it, enjoined implementation of Secretary Hegseth's order to the Oregon National Guard. And this is the judge. Mr. Hamilton, you are an officer of the court. Aren't defendants simply circumventing my order, which relies on the conditions in Portland? Nothing has changed. There's nothing in my order that has changed. Trump administration lawyer. No, Your Honor. The judge. So why is this appropriate? Trump administration lawyer. Well, the reason is that the California National Guard were federalized under a different presidential memorandum. The judge, Mr. Hamilton, you are missing the point, because here it's the conditions on the ground in Oregon that were the basis for my finding that there was not a legal basis to bring federalized National Guard into Oregon. Is there any legal authority for federalizing National Guard for one purpose, that is to help California, and then to divert them to another purpose in a different state, where there's no showing that that is military help that is necessary to assist law enforcement or to protect law enforcement or the one federal building here for ICE? Trump administration lawyer. Well, the judge, is there any legal authority for what you are doing? Trump administration lawyer. Well, this section of the U.S. Code, section 12406, has not been utilized any time in history. So there are not many previous precedents from the use of this authority. But the judge, tell me, why do you think it has not been utilized? Trump administration lawyer, I can't speak to that. The judge, Mr. Hamilton. So again, if it were the case that you could federalize National Guard in one place and simply send them to a place where the president doesn't have authority to federalize the National Guard, then what would the purpose of this section of the U.S. Code be? You have to have a colorable claim that Oregon conditions require it, but you don't. We have already gone over that. So why is this appropriate? Trump administration lawyer. Well, again, no additional California guardsmen were federalized. They were instead relocated from California to the state of Oregon. And the judge. So are they federalized or are they not? Trump administration lawyer. They are federalized, but new guardsmen were not federalized. 200 already federalized California guardsmen were relocated to the state of Oregon. The judge. Let me ask you, Mr. Hamilton. You're an officer of the court. Do you believe that this is an appropriate way to deal with my order or an order that a judge issues that you disagree with? Or is the appropriate mechanism to appeal? Trump administration lawyer. Well, I'm not a policymaker, but the judge. You're a lawyer. That's how it's going for the Trump administration in court in trying to send in the troops to Oregon. We'll see how it goes in Illinois, right? I mean, Trump does not seem to have the law on his side on this matter. He does not seem to have the people on his side. He does not seem to have the politics on his side. And so what he has is just force.
And I would say at some point, we've said this yesterday, at some point the Supreme Court is going to have to stop knocking these cases down to lower courts and stop being ambiguous about what the president has the power to do and not do. So, Jacob, I want to go back to, we were sort of talking tongue-in-cheek about them marching up and down Michigan Avenue, a very exclusive shopping district in Chicago, and just say it does remind me of Washington, D.C. There are parts of Washington, D.C. that are very dangerous. They just are. And by the way, ask residents of Washington, D.C. who live in those areas, and they will say, we want more law enforcement officers. But time and time again in Washington, we saw the National Guard outside the Apple store, outside other stores, in DuPont Circle, picking up trash, not going to the affected areas. In Chicago, I mean, gangland killings, just, Labor Day weekend, over 55 people shot, I think 13, 14 killed. Every weekend, people seem to be getting killed, getting shot. But these National Guard troops aren't going there, are they?
No, and that's what Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, is emphasizing. He says, we'll take federal grants for community-based policing so we can surge resources to those areas. But it's really important to understand the National Guard or the Marines in the case of LA are not trained in community-based policing. That's not how they deal with people and are meant to deal with people. First of all, they're not meant to deal with people, period, on the streets of these cities.
It's not their job.
Unless it's a... That's exactly right. And so the mayor is saying, you want to help us with our law enforcement strategy. The federal government has plenty of resources to do that, but that's not where these troops are ending up. Certainly not where they were ending up in Los Angeles either. And so they're going to send them here to stand outside of ICE facilities face to face with protesters in costumes. And they're marching Border Patrol agents around. By the way, Governor Pritzker made a great point to Rachel last night. The Border Patrol has the authority to operate within 100 miles of the border. We're well beyond that in Chicago, but they're saying that that Lake Michigan is the border of the United States with Canada, and that's the authority under which these tactical Border Patrol agents, who again are trained in community-based policing to be in and around civilians here in Chicago. That's the justification they're using to put them here. They're not going to these neighborhoods that you're talking about, guys, and that I think a lot of people would welcome the help of law enforcement, local law enforcement, especially on the ground in a city like this.
Trump's latest move to flood major U.S. cities like Chicago with federal tactical forces shows the wrong kind of leadership. What's happening here is political theater dressed up in camouflage, to say the least. Federal agents are marching up and down Michigan Avenue, a shopping district, not a crime hotspot, to make a point, not to protect anyone. These officers are masked, armed, and parading through downtown for the cameras. Governor Pritzker pointed out that this militarized presence creates tension instead of calm. Federal forces have pulled citizens from their homes, zip-tied kids, and later released them without charges. That reflects power being used in the really, really wrong way. This entire operation, if you can even say that, looks like a campaign production more than a security measure. Have you seen their films that they put out with background music to this brutality? The Department of Homeland Security made a promotional video, multiple, showing off the troops, the boats, and the vehicles, turning federal enforcement into this kind of marketing and branding, trying to hype people up about it. Trump seems focused on making this show of dominance, like he wants to be back on TV. He's not trying to solve any real problems. Local leaders keep saying the same thing. Chicago needs resources for community-based policing, programs that actually connect officers to residents, help keep them safe in a personal way, and help that actually addresses the real roots of violence. Trump keeps ignoring that, obviously. Sending in troops makes for a far stronger visual than listening to governors or mayors who know their own city better than he does. It makes him look tough, even when it solves nothing and causes a lot more problems. Governor Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson have both said these are not trained community officers coming in. Border Patrol agents have no place patrolling Michigan Avenue or the South Shore. They were trained for border security, not neighborhood work. Yet Trump's administration is stretching the law to justify it, even claiming Lake Michigan counts as a border so that they can deploy Border Patrol people there. That's crazy. That move goes beyond reason, at the very least. And while Chicago faces real violence in certain neighborhoods that could be helped with community funding and schooling and free resources and healthcare and helping poverty and dealing with crime in a responsible manner with the police that are already there, these troops are just showing up and not doing any good. They could be helping in other areas where people actually need help, but they're here. They're not protecting families who are in danger. They're not, helping protect our border. They're just standing outside ICE facilities, striking poses for the cameras, all looking powerful and strong like an occupying army. This is a display of power, not a plan for real public safety. What is all this? Trump has turned federal law enforcement into a stage show, using American streets as props for political messaging. He's using fear and intimidation to protect this authoritarian control instead of using his leadership to build stability. That choice leaves cities more divided and more on edge than ever before. Every march, every masked display, every unnecessary show of force and brutality chips away at the idea that government power should serve the people, not perform for them at the whim of a powerful leader who's just using the office for his own authoritarian aims. What we're seeing here isn't strength and support and courage and real leadership in action. This is power underneath one guy being used really recklessly, and the country is paying the price for it.